Our next presenter is a big part of making the 1st and 2nd and 10th and 15th and 20th reawaken to her habit. She's a connector. She's a connector. She's a generous person. She's kind. She's knowledgeable. She's a researcher. Her name is Ann Vandersteel. Ann Vandersteel is an investigative journalist, a constitutional advocate, and the host of Steel News. She also serves as the chair and co-founder of the American Made Foundation and the American Made Action, where she leads efforts for government accountability, constitutional restoration, and ending state-sanctioned kidnapping. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand to your feet and greet my good friend, and now yours, Ann Vandersteel, for the final time on the Reawakened stage. Ann Vandersteel, thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Tulsa, it's great to be back. Truly it is. I can't tell you what this means to me, and you know, we think back, what, 6 years ago, 5 years ago when we started this? None of us are the same people, and a lot of us have changed for the right reasons and for the best reasons of all because of everything you've learned that has come from right here. I took a different path. I was in news for a long time, and that's where I cut my teeth, and I was tired of complaining about the issues that we were seeing every single day. And of course, the theme you keep hearing here is, if you're gonna make America great, you've gotta make your families great. And God put us on this earth to be here, to procreate, but he wants us to protect our children. And so I've taken a little bit of a different path with some incredible people. I'm gonna share that story with you today. But before we get started, I want you to see this incredibly powerful video.
Okay, tell me again, why is it that you're throwing things?
Because I'm mad. I just want to go back with you. They get to take me away but you're my mother. And I want to go back with you. I miss Daddy and I miss you.
I'm working on it, okay? I'm gonna talk to my lawyer right now. I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna have her call your lawyer, and we're gonna get you home this month, okay? This is gonna stop. But promise me you're gonna stop throwing things. Don't throw things because I don't want you to get in trouble, okay?
Okay.
Okay, mi amor, I know it's hard, but please remember what I told you. We pray to God. We tell him to take the road. We tell him to protect us in this, but we don't get upset and throw things around because then I don't want you to get in trouble and then it gets worse for you, right? You don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay, don't cry, baby. Mommy's working on it and Daddy's working on it, okay? We're gonna get you home. But don't throw things anymore. Don't do that. And I'm gonna find a way to communicate with you throughout the day. Is that what's bothering you, that you can't call me?
Yeah, it's so mean.
That is a real recording of a little boy who was part of 5 children that were taken by the state of Massachusetts, all because the parents decided they didn't want to give their youngest child a vitamin K shot when he went for a well visit. I'd like, by show of hands, anybody that can tell me if a vitamin K shot is required by law to be given and taken by a child. Thank you. So my inspiration, frankly, to get into fighting for the children was something that I heard General Flynn say at the very first Tulsa Reawaken event at Clay's office. He stood in front of a VIP dinner one night and he said, "We're doing this for the children." And he brought all the children up there. And that stuck with me because for 4 years before this event in Tulsa, I had been interviewing many families that had been devastated by Child Protective Services. As a mother of 3 and now a grandmother of 4, the thought of anybody taking my kids unwarranted is unacceptable. So that has led me to this journey today. Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, who was a good friend of mine, I interviewed him after I heard about him on President Trump's coronavirus press rally one day, talking about a letter he received from a doctor from New York, how to treat coronavirus. I met him, we became friends, and he asked me to chair his foundation. For reasons I'm not going to go into today, the foundation is still alive and well, but it's operating under the name American Made Foundation. That story will come forward in the not too distant future, and my good friend Simone Gold will also be a part of that story, so I'm going to tease you with that. But today, I partnered with the woman who was instrumental in organizing the People's Convoy, Maureen Steele. Probably many of you saw her on Steve Bannon. She was on regularly. We did that big convoy going across America during COVID. And Maureen and I set up American Made Foundation specifically to fight, the government accountability, which is never happening, We are fighting for your constitutional liberty because we're being governed by state codes and U.S. codes and statutes that have nothing to do with we the people. We're fighting for your civil rights, which seemingly are trampled on every single day, including in our elections. We're fighting for the fact that the families are being destroyed and that you all are getting completely misinformed. So we are doing this because the American family has to be strong, and we're under attack right now, and that is never more apparent than today. Specifically, when you look at what's happening with family separation. Too many children right now are in custody. Let me ask you, by show of hands, if 500,000 Americans were being held hostage in Iran right now, or Syria, or Iraq, or wherever, would we have the military over there doing something about it? Why are we not fighting at the same vigor for 500,000 children that are being held hostage by state-sanctioned kidnapping all over this country? That is happening today. So this is why we fight. This is why we're getting into this. And this is why I decided to step away from daily media and take a straight line, one path to do something about this problem. Because this is actually systemic of all agencies across our government, which have nice sounding names. The Environmental Protection Agency, for instance. What environment are they protecting? Are we not getting cluttered now with AI data centers? Do they not want more, just destroying our resources? Where's the EPA fighting that? They're not. This is why we have to take a stand against Child Protective Services, because again, a nice founding name is doing everything but protecting the family. We've seen children removed without any meaningful due process. We've seen families silenced with courts that are sealing documents because they don't want the truth to get out. We've seen parents treated as guilty before evidence has ever been presented. We see medical disagreements come into play, just like I told you about that little boy with the Rivera family. We see poverty as an excuse to take a child. When does poverty represent somebody who's abusing a child? Why aren't we helping the family? We saw this happen in North Carolina. They were taking children because the parents couldn't afford to build another house while they were living in a hotel after their house had been destroyed. And CPS said, well, you can't live in a hotel. That's unacceptable. We're going to take your children. So this is not anti-child protection. This is pro-child, pro-family, and pro-constitution. Okay, part of American Made Foundation is working with other organizations. You saw Emily Peterson, State Director for Moms for America this morning. She talked about our book, again, with the foreword written by General Michael Flynn, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. We are working with organizations all over the country right now to come together because we decided advocacy has to come from the people. You all in the room are so much more powerful than the state would have you believe. And while we can sit here and educate and do documentaries and write books, write legislation, do all these things, we need you to come forward. So the Family First Coalition is an affiliation of just we the people. And our website, I will share that with you towards the end at AmericanMadeFoundation.org, has a place where you can just sign up. It costs nothing, but we want to help you by state. Hey, we see these issues going on. Can we work together? This is a collaboration. It's going to take a team effort. This is true grassroots, and we're all about it. And our strategy at the Family First Coalition, which is, again, part of our foundational efforts here, we're going to expose everything we can through media, documentaries, through books. We're going to be documenting all these cases, and we're doing hundreds of interviews. Maureen Steele is a phenomenal writer. She has done more interviews than I think I've done in the last year and a half. She's absolutely crushing it, getting these stories, and we're putting them together because a lot of these stories are coming together into federal lawsuits, which we're getting behind as well. And we're working with a network of lawyers through Chris Burns, our board of director member, who is the head of the United Law Coalition. And we're working with attorneys all over the country. Today we have a case right now. Peter Tickton's involved with us. The little boy whose mother was shot and killed by ICE in Minneapolis. We have now stepped in because the grandfather wants custody of the little boy. His father died 2 years before. His mother was shot and killed. And the mother's, quotes, wife, who's trying to trans the little boy to what Tricia was talking about and Melanie were talking about, is trying to take custody. There's a lot of money involved in all of this, and this is what we're trying to get at the heart of, is getting at the heart of the money. So this is bringing together a united front for all of the families, and how do we go about doing this? Well, we have to provide information. Maureen has written a phenomenal compendium. I contribute a little bit, but she's done the lion's share of this. The compendiums that are actually talking about the economics of what it costs to take children, as well as what happens when the state becomes the trauma, as evidenced by what you just heard on just that audio recording. Because these children are taken out of good, loving homes based on hearsay. Little Johnny goes to school. He has a bruise on his arm because he fell off his bicycle the day before with Dad on a Sunday. The educators are called mandated reporters. They make a phone call to CPS. CPS shows up at your house. And if you don't know what to do, like Emily told you, make sure you have a police officer there as a witness. You immediately are going to get sucked into that system because you're not equipped to deal with the shenanigans and the evil that they're going to throw your way. And it's not just the CPS caseworkers. It's everybody involved in the system. It's the family court judges. These are all closed-loop courts. There's no jury of your peers, as the Constitution warrants you to have. So this is where we have to get educated, and this is what we're doing. This information is going directly to Washington, D.C. next week. We're going up there, and we're going to be meeting with different members in Senate, in Congress, and other organizations. Hopefully we'll get to Bobby Kennedy's office and even Mark Wayne Mullins, if Doc Pete has anything to say about it, because we have got to get them educated on all of this. And we're writing bills. We've written a bill that's specific to Florida, but is easily adapted by state across the country. We just need to tweak the statutes by each state. But we are now in those bills. We are declaring child removal one of the most serious actions a state can take. I don't think I can think of anything more except putting somebody to death. We're defining imminent harm because states today don't have any clear definitions of what is imminent harm if your child is in imminent harm, and we're going to take it. So we have objectively defined this. We are narrowing neglect or willful, reckless failure to be, good to your child as everything excluding poverty. I mean, so you have to have real bodily injury. But if you're impoverished, how is that neglect? What if you simply are just struggling? Many Americans are struggling right now. So we are not looking to, make this where the children are going to be living in bad circumstances. But what we're doing is we're requiring judicial warrants for true exigent circumstances. We're requiring written documentation with probable cause. You've got to have law enforcement involved. It isn't just someone shows up and says, I want to see your kids as they're standing there with a clipboard and they're 26 years old. This is not how it's going to go down anymore. So we're making some vast and sweeping changes. And we believe the state of Florida is going to be the first state, frankly, to adopt this. We have some good momentum with the state of Florida, with the folks we're talking to. If we get a real good governor in there, the one I'm working with right now, Paul Renner, is 100% behind this because he sees how diabolical this is. So we need to get everybody on the same page, and this is what we're doing statewide, federally. The book that we wrote, CPS Pipeline, General Michael Flynn graciously wrote the foreword, and it is inspirational because I want to thank him for his voice because he's bringing moral clarity to this fight. He's reminding Americans that the family is not a government program. We're not. We are individuals. We are free. Our families are the foundation of civilization. So this is our local action to make a national impact. But again, the Family First Coalition requires each and every one of you to want to include yourselves into that local impact. And we want to network. We want to hear your stories because I'm not asking you to show your hands here, but I can guarantee you there's people in here that have been impacted by CPS in the past, the present, and they will be in the future. So in our book, we cover a variety of information, but what you're going to find is it summarizes basically three major themes of the CPS pipeline. First of all, you've got the machinery behind the family separation. You've got the medical and foster care harms that children can actually face either in removal or actually in the locations that they're being brought to, the trafficking that goes on. And when I say trafficking, I'm not just talking about sex trafficking. I'm talking about the money associated with trafficking children. There's children that have been documentedly moved 20 times in a year. Why? Because every time they're bounced to a different foster care home, it's $64,000 for a new bed. So you do that 20 times, you're over $1.2 million. $1.2 million for the year just in fees to track that child and move them around. So the anonymous phone calls that come in, Emily talked about that. They fortunately figured out who did that. But those anonymous phone calls we put into our bill are a felony now because you shouldn't be able to do that anymore. You should not be able to take someone's kid based on an anonymous hearsay tip. So instead of this being about court filings and paperwork and guardians ad litem, we're now putting some teeth into this to make sure that you have your protections defined and that the state has to, by law, adhere to those protections. So, we've got pediatricians involved that are involved in making up excuses to get a payment to take your child, as was the Rivera family case, and that's one of many. So what is the action plan? First, we educate, we expose, and we do that through media. We legislate, which we've done. We're currently legislating. We're litigating. We're using our United Law Coalition to attack these judges, contact these guardian ad litems, these therapists, and anybody in law enforcement that was involved in taking a child without proper due process, without a warrant. We're suing them personally and professionally because it's time they feel the pain. And it's time to organize. We have to be very organized, and we've got to support. So when you hear people like Tricia and Emily, what we're doing, I don't take a salary for this. This is my retirement now, people. I'm doing this because I have grandchildren, and I am not going to let this system be a detriment to my family or any of your families, because that's not what God designed. Remember, we are here to be free. He made all of us to be free. So as far as the CPS Pipeline goes, I can only tell you this book is an incredible read. It's a short read. You can read this in less than 2 hours. But I can assure you, you're going to want to get to the end, the bonus chapter. Because in there, we give you a strategy that's in their statutory system that prevents the state from taking your child. So you're going to want to read this book, but you're going to need to understand all the ways they do it. And I would love any one of you to reach out to me. You can go to AmericanMadeFoundation.org and hit the contact button. I get the emails. If you have a story going on, I want to hear from you. If you have help you want to bring, we want to hear from you. If you just want to say, I need someone to listen to me, I want to hear from you. Because this pipeline is about to get broken. We're going to end it. This is the last thing I'm going to do before I leave. This is where I'm going to die on that hill. I want to just take a second and thank Dr. Vladimir Zelenko. He was a very dear friend. He saved countless millions of lives, and he had a passion for children. So I spoke to his former business partner the other day, Dave Lopez, and Dave's told me, he said, Zev would be so happy with what you're doing. Thank you for keeping Zev alive. And so I just want to thank Dr. Zelenko. He was a dear friend of General Michael Flynn's as well. And without him, I wouldn't be standing here today talking to you about this. So for that, we're very grateful. And the Zelenko Freedom Foundation is alive and well. Right now, it's doing work through the American Made Foundation, and that story will be told, but not today. So if you want to get a copy of the book, there's a QR code. Is it not up on the screen? There we go. Is that? No, keep going. Oh, it's not on there? Okay, that's fine. If you want to get a copy of the book, there's a QR code right there. You can visit our website. You can sign up there to be part of the Family First Coalition. It doesn't cost you anything. It's going to allow you to get into the network of people that are working on this problem. And again, we aren't just focused on children, but this is the primary focus. We are very much anti-big corporate government, and that's what we have today. We can't continue with agency government ruining the lives of people because they're protecting the very industries that they're supposed to be regulating and coming down on. We don't see enough of the agencies taking care of, like the wolves of Wall Street, the SEC. People have had companies ruined, national security trade secrets destroyed and sold off to China. I could tell you stories on and on and on. I was listening to Laura last night. She was just sort of giving you a walk through the park of her world. If I did the same speech, we'd be here till tomorrow. So I don't want to do that to you because the focus today is saving the children. I'm Ann Vandersteel. I'm with American Made. Maureen Steele is my business partner and co-founder. Christopher Burns is our attorney. And I want to thank Emily Peterson. Tracy, you're doing amazing work. You and your husband are fantastic. And everybody else that has stood up for children, thank you so much. General Michael Flynn, Clay Clark, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ann Vandersteel. Hey, yes. All right. So, Ann, if people want to find out about you one more time, what's the best website? Someone's driving right now. They want to know. What's the website? AmericanMadeFoundation.org. All right. There it is, folks. You heard one more time. Let's hear for Ann Vandersteel.